I want to welcome our viewers to a special podcast. Now, Jenessa is across town, so we're coming to you through Zoom, and this is through Overture. And guess what, residents? The bingo this Thursday is not your typical bingo. It's going to be Medicare bingo. Now, you're going to probably be asking yourself, how do they go together? Well, we're going to just have a conversation. We're going to talk a little bit about Jenessa's background and just things as you'll get to know her. So just introduce yourself, the company you're with, and who you serve, and then we'll just talk with you.
Okay.
Jenessa.
Well, again, as you stated, first I want to tell you thank you so much for reaching out to us and allowing us this opportunity to just kind of talk a little bit, like you said, explain who we are and just give the audience and viewers a chance to get to know us. So my name is Jenessa McKinney, and I'm actually born and raised in Georgia. So I hail from Georgia. And I have lived in the metropolitan area now in Atlanta for almost 13 years.
Okay.
I started in the insurance industry about 7.5 years ago. I started out with Aflac, doing business to business sales with employee benefits with Aflac. I started out in the Medicare market about 3.5 years ago. So I added that kind of to my portfolio, if you will. And so I've been doing that. The market that I serve in that regard would be the Medicare market. So individuals who are eligible for Medicare, either due to their age, of course, at 65 years or older, or due to disabilities. So even if you're younger than 65, some individuals who are disabled and things of that nature, or have end-stage renal disease, are also eligible for Medicare. So that would be the market that we serve as it relates to Medicare. Now, when I say we, you mentioned the company. I'm mentioning the company that we work for. Yeah. So I work for a company called Perfect Plan Solutions. Now, Perfect Plan Solutions is actually an insurance brokerage company. We serve markets, anything related to the health and life market. So life insurance, marketplace insurance. So health insurance for those who are younger than 65, who are not Medicare eligible, right? Marketplace insurance for individuals and families, dental insurance, vision insurance, you name it, long-term care insurance, which is starting to gain some momentum in the marketplace as well. Disability insurance, so short-term disability. Like I said, you name it, we do that. And ultimately what we do is we assist consumers with shopping for whatever insurance that they're in the market for, by way of contracting with various different carriers, so that we can actually help you explore not just with one particular carrier, but with all the different carriers. And that's why we're positioned as more of a broker or consultant versus just a sales agent.
I like the word, what you said, consultant. So I turned 65 last year. And so it was a whole new world. And it was like a very complex world.
Yes.
And it was like, I was, just for our viewers, I had a stroke before, and I was like, I shift to Medicare. And it was like, the bill from the PT was just close to $30,000 for 1 month.
Wow.
And out of pocket was about almost $3,000 or something. When I turned Medicare, my bill was just my monthly premium. And then it was like, oh my gosh, I've never been so pleased to be 65 in my whole life.
Right.
I saw before, then after. So our viewers are always, and my friends are always asking me, well, Pete, what is this thing when you turn 65? What's Medicare? How's it work? So What are the common things that you have to educate people with? Just what do you share with them, the challenges of the Medicare system and how they can use it to the best of their ability?
Definitely. Good question. So the first thing that I usually like to educate on is what Medicare is. So that is that question, right? What is Medicare and how does it work? Being 65, well, Medicare is a government insurance, right? It's insurance that is administered by the government, and it is what you were paying into as a working citizen. That Social Security that is coming out of that check, that Medicare tax that's coming out of your check, that is going towards your future health coverage under the Medicare program once you turn 65, or again, if you're eligible due to a disability prior to 65. And so the way that works, though, is that portion or that those taxes were going into to cover you for Part A of Original Medicare.
Okay.
There are two parts to Original Medicare. There's Part A, which essentially, just to keep it simple, it covers all of your inpatient care. So if you get admitted into a hospital or admitted into a skilled nursing facility, that is where Part A is going to begin to cover for that particular care, which then leaves you to, okay, well then what about my doctor's visits, lab work, x-rays, outpatient surgeries, just emergency room visits, right? All of those services that are considered outpatient care, those services are going to be covered under Part B. And so Part B, though, is not what you are ultimately paying into as a working citizen. Therefore, even once you're eligible for Medicaid, Part B does come with what's known as a Part B premium. Unlike Part A, because you were paying into the system while you were a working citizen, it's usually premium free. Part B is not, and there is a premium associated with it. So I typically have to kind of educate on that regard to begin with. What each of those parts cover and whether they come with a premium or not. And then from there, I talk about how you are covered. And just to keep it on a broad, high level, Medicare is going to cover you at 80% of the cost of all of your services. Part A and Part B. You are going to be responsible for 20% of the cost of all of your services, plus any deductibles that may come along with your Part A or Part B coverages as well. So I start there. I know I said a mouthful already, so I'll let you jump.
No, it's really good because I think that's simple enough. I haven't heard it explained like that. And people, when I turned 65, they'd ask me, like, do you have Part B? Do you have, that? And I go, yeah, I think so. But I never heard it explained like you just did. So thank you for kind of shedding a simple light into the difference. So I'm always curious, not always, but I'm curious, what percentage in your estimation just go with A versus both A and B that you've seen?
Well, I don't know that I would quantify it in percentages, but what I will tell you is the demographic of people who typically do that versus the demographic who doesn't. So typically what you're going to see is someone who already has creditable coverage, meaning they're 65 and older, but maybe they work and they're still getting coverage from their employer. Or they are retired, but they have retiree insurance from their employer, or they're married to someone and they're getting the right. So ultimately and essentially, someone who already has or is going to continue to have other creditable coverage, they may go ahead and enroll in that Part A premium or Part A coverage, but because it's premium free and they pay for it, right? It's automatic. Essentially, they won't though then go ahead and enroll in Part B because again, it comes with a premium, and it's kind of like, well, why pay for additional coverage when I'm already being covered by way of my employer or my spouse's retiree plan or whatever the case may be. So that's usually more or less a demographic thing versus a percentage thing.
So I'm not sure. This is what I remember, and again, it could have been wrong. I don't know, but I basically had to go off of the private insurance of my spouse and go automatically to Medicare. Is that an individual company thing, or is it across the board?
Yes, that's an individual company thing. That's a very great question. That is a very small percentage, though, of individual companies.
Okay.
It certainly depends on the way the company is structured and the way that particular plan that they are offering through the company is structured. Sometimes the plan itself requires that anyone 65 and older goes ahead and enrolls in Part B instead of maintaining that employer coverage. So yes, it is based on the employer that you're with, and ultimately the plan that the employer is offering. And so it's a case by case thing, but it's a small percentage. Usually that is not going to be a requirement. So
Yeah, that's funny because I then assumed, because I was telling my friends, oh yeah, they're going to kick you off your
right.
private employer plan. You're going to have to go with plan B. And so not knowing that there was a difference. And
For
I think
sure.
there's just so much out there, so much information is really understanding the choices that you have. And the
That's
more
it.
education you have, the better we can be prepared to make the choices, because it's always, how does it apply to me? And
Mhm.
every situation may be a little bit different.
Right,
So
for sure.
yeah, so let's just talk. We'll go off like, so what do you like to do when you're
Mhm.
not working? Like what takes you into that fun things that you're not, that you're not having fun working, but I'm just saying, what do you like to do like when you're not working?
Well, I love spending time with family and friends.
Okay.
I'm very easy to please. So we talk about love languages, right? And I would say quality time is one of my top love languages. And so I just love doing things, whether it's in the house or outside of the house. So if it's bowling, or if it's we're just kind of having a gathering and a potluck and playing some games at home. I love that. I also love to travel, though. I
Okay.
really love enjoying, just the nature. So beaches, hiking, going to parks, and I also enjoy working out and spending time with my daughter. So
Awesome, man. That's really good. I have a couple questions I was going to ask. So like, vacation wise, you said beaches and going, what's your favorite place to go to? Like, what do you enjoy spending time on the vacation in?
well, I've been to a few different places. I would say I've enjoyed mostly going to Mexico. I've gone to Cozumel.
Uh-huh.
I've gone to Cancun, and I enjoy the culture there. I enjoy the food. I enjoy the Hispanic culture in general, actually. And I know a little bit of Spanish, and so I enjoy when I go over there. My friend usually with me, and she knows no Spanish, and I know some, and so I get to
Yeah,
kind of interact with the locals there and so forth. And
that's
the
awesome.
beaches are very nice, and it's always so much fun. Like the activities that are available there are so much fun. So I enjoy going to Mexico.
That's awesome. Yeah, Cozumel, I've been there, and yeah, there's some wonderful places down there. So let's get back, because how we got connected. I looked on the
Mhm.
calendar here at Overture, and I go, Medicare bingo. I'm going, whoa, I know bingo, but I didn't know that both of them went together. So, if I'm a resident and I'm like thinking, do I go to bingo this Thursday, or do
Right.
I stay home and miss it? So what will you accomplish by combining the two?
Great question. Great question. So, first, our main goal in any time we are engaging with the community is education.
Okay.
So, however, with that being said, we also know the importance of just kind of having fun. To your point, like, what do I like to do for fun? Well, I know most people like to have fun in some to some degree, right? So,
Yep.
we like to combine the two. We want to be able to still provide education and enlightenment as it relates to Medicare and your options, even as it relates to Medicare Advantage and Medicare supplement options in the Medicare arena, right? So what we do is we say, okay, a lot of people like bingo, let's play bingo, but instead of it just being a normal bingo, we'll ask questions oriented around Medicare. The answers will be on the bingo card. You still will get bingo by going, either diagonally or horizontally or whatever, right? And when you get bingo, you yell Medicare bingo, and we actually give out prizes in addition.
Ooh, you're
Yes, so we
speaking
give
our
out
language.
prizes. We give out really nice prizes to the winners of each card. Um, and we allow multiple opportunities for the residents to win. So it's just a really great way to educate, because what we typically see is as we're playing Medicare bingo, the residents are stopping us in the middle and they're asking questions, which we love. We want that. We welcome that. We desire that, right? So they're asking questions about the particular question and answer that was asked, and so forth. So again, it's educational, but fun and prize winners. And then we always do something extra for all the participants. So whether you win a prize or not, this particular Medicare bingo, we're going to do like a fall festival theme where you'll be getting snacks and treats that are oriented around the fall and fall things that you would see at a fall festival. So,
Well, I'm at PT 2:30 to 3:30. I will not spend any time talking after my PT. I'm coming straight home because I love prizes. I love prizes.
yes.
And do you actually facilitate it? Because we have Alice who does our bingo. She's been calling our bingo for a long, long time. So are you like the person that's doing all the calling?
Yes, that would be me. I am the facilitator,
that's
the
good.
host. Yes.
So Alice gets a chance to go on the other side of bingo and be a participant, not the number caller or the letter caller or whatever you say. So that's going to be a treat for her. That's good. Exactly. So tell us, like you said, hiking. Like, I know you're across town. Where do you like to hike?
Well, I usually go to local parks. I don't do a whole lot of hiking. I've done some where I went to Blue Ridge, done some hiking there, Stone Mountain, and then just local parks that I could find some trails. So I don't do as much hiking as I would like, but I do enjoy doing it when I can. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, we talk over here at Overture. We said keep the body moving. It's like my mom's 93, and unfortunately, when you get to 93, your friends are not around as much, and so she's like not getting the movement that she used to get, and it does, have a difference in how we able to continue to have a vibrant life. So what would you say, like when you when you come into a facility like Overture, what is like the number one question that the residents would ask you? Like, what would
so to narrow it down to number one, I would say because a lot of our education is not just oriented around original Medicare, it is also oriented around some of those options through private carriers, i.e., what is known as Medicare Part C or Medicare Advantage plan through your carriers like Anthem or Humana or Cigna, right? Or also a Medicare supplement plan, which is also a different and a separate option from a Medicare Advantage plan, right? And so we get questions oriented around what's the difference between the two, what's the benefits of maybe having a Medicare Advantage plan versus just sticking with original Medicare. Same thing with Medicare supplement. What's the advantage of having a Medicare supplement plan and adding that or pairing it with your original Medicare and so forth. So we tend to get a lot of questions around that because that's a really huge thing. Most people are aware of a Medicare supplement plan or Medicare Advantage, but they're not fully educated on the nuances of either, and then the differences between the two. So
that's really good. I'm always curious when I hear that word Medicare, because if I've heard one question, I've heard 30 from my friends that are just a couple years out, and they're saying because they know that I was like going to PT before and then after. So they've asking me what's the difference? What it is. So I think there's a lot of things, a lot of questions that are out there. Now I was home, and so I don't watch TV when I'm here, but my mom does, and she watches the Game Show Network. Well, the Game Show Network must be for seniors because there was commercials after commercials is that their enrollment period for Medicare is coming up, and so and then do this, do that. So is there? I mean, no, I know there is. Share what that means enrollment period for the ones that just aren't watching the Game Show Network.
Sure. So enrollment period really is that time of year, and there are a few different ones, but the main one that we will talk about now is the one that we're currently in, and it starts on October 15th and it goes to December 7th of every single year. It's called the AEP, or annual enrollment period. That annual enrollment period that happens every year is for Medicare eligible individuals who would either like to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan, or maybe they would like to drop their Medicare Advantage plan and go back to original Medicare, or maybe they would just like to switch Medicare Advantage plans, right, from plan to plan. So that's that period where Medicare eligible individuals can make those type of changes. Also, they can pick up a drug coverage if they don't have one already in the current plan that they're in, or what have you. So that's what AEP is all about. Now, the reason that is important, especially for those who may say, well, I already have a Medicare Advantage plan, why do I need to do this every year? I mean, the technical answer is that you don't necessarily need to, but it's certainly beneficial to at least look at what you're currently in comparison to what's out now available. A couple of reasons, and I'll go over that. One is any person who has a Medicare Advantage plan, they're going to receive what's called an annual notice of change, or an ANOC, every single year in the mail. Now, that ANOC is going to talk about what changes their particular plan that they're under with that particular carrier, what changes that plan will see, whether some drugs will be being dropped from the plan's formulary, no longer covered, whether a benefit that they were used to receiving is either decreasing in the amount or being eliminated at all, whether a benefit is being added or increased upon, right? So sometimes there's those type of changes that you want to be aware of. And if the changes are not favorable for you, then you may want to look at, what else is out there in terms of plans. And then also, with that said, just because every carrier is expanding and expounding on a lot of their plan options and benefits that are being made available. So whereas last year, your plan was a better plan with the said carrier that you're with, you may find a better plan either with that carrier or even with a different carrier. And so again, it's just always beneficial to at least look and see and have somebody go over your options with you to see what you qualify for. Also, going back to your own individual changes, last year you may have not had a chronic illness and you didn't need a chronic illness plan. Maybe somewhere in between you now developed, maybe you just had a stroke recently, or maybe you're having to use maybe durable medical equipment, and now you need a plan that has better coverage for durable medical equipment, or whatever the case may be. Maybe you didn't need transportation last year, but your spouse died and he was your main source of transportation, and you don't drive and now you need transportation. Just different things like that. And so again, yeah, it is always beneficial to be able to take a look year to year and see where you may be either still on a good plan for you, or maybe advantageous to go ahead and switch plans.
That makes sense. It's funny because I got an email from the person that, I guess, similar to yourself. And, she said, what prescriptions are you currently using? And I've changed. I used to take Adderall my whole life. So I don't anymore. And like one time, this was crazy. It was in between the coverage, and for some reason got lost in the shuffle, whatever. And I get a bill for like $850 for 30 days. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm used to paying like a copay of $30, and then I see 850. But she said something I didn't understand. Like, before I can talk to you, you have to sign a waiver. So is that common that before people talk to you, you have to be able to, is that, I guess my question, is that common? I never heard that before.
Well, so yes and no. It depends on what type of agent you're referring to. In my case, the answer would be yes. Because there's two types of agents that you could end up talking to. You could end up talking to an independent agent who is contracted with a carrier, or in our case, because we are brokers, we're contracted with multiple carriers, right? And then you could be talking to a telemarketer or an agent who works as a W-2. They're employed by a particular carrier. Right now, a lot of times you're getting those phone calls from telemarketers, and because they are employed by that specific carrier, they don't have the same regulations. They can reach out, they can call those seniors from a list and say, hey, and we're going to try to sell to you as a telemarketer for this particular carrier.
Okay.
Right.
That makes
For
sense.
someone like myself, who is an independent contractor, independent broker, we're a little bit more heavily regulated. So yes, you would, two ways that you could contact me, or I could become in contact with you. One is if you fill out what's called a permission to contact form ahead of time, saying, hey, you know what, I would like to sit down and get a little bit more understanding about Medicare in general and kind of explore some options with my particular needs or situation, right? That permission to contact form is not you making a commitment. It's just simply saying, I am asking to have a one-on-one conversation with you as an
Okay.
independent Medicare agent. The other way, though, is what she probably was also talking about, is something called a scope of appointment, and it's also known as
Yes.
SOA. Yes. Now
Yes.
that is the second level. It is to say, you want to have this, you want to talk to me one-on-one, but now we're going to schedule that one-on-one. So let's start back over. The permission to contact form just gives me permission to call you to then schedule a one-on-one. But then
Mhm.
prior to that one-on-one, I also have to have you fill out what's called a scope of appointment, which also just says, hey, I am confirming that I requested to sit down and have this one-on-one meeting with said agent. So yes, that is correct. Now, if I leave information with you and you call me, then of course you don't have to get permission to call me, right? So you can always reach out to me without any forms being signed. But in terms of me initiating the contact with you,
Okay.
you would have to fill the form out. Yes.
That makes sense. Now, it's been very educational for myself because I'm 66, so I'm like just in the category and haven't been in it enough to know the ins and outs. So I want
Right.
to encourage our residents, like, you want to do something fun,
Yes.
bingo. You want to learn
Yes.
about Medicare. Combine the two of them, and Alice, you can take a back seat for a Thursday and not have to be calling the numbers. You're going to be maybe participating and winning a prize. So,
Right.
Jenessa, thank you so much
Not
for
a problem.
really spur of the moment jumping on, and we'll try to make this live as quickly as we can to be able to give our residents reasons to come down and learn all the
Awesome.
ins and outs about Medicare. So we
Awesome.
always let our guests leave our viewers with an insight. So what would you say you would want people to remember this podcast by, or what could you share with them?
So thank you for that. And I just want to say again, thank you for even having me. And I think this is going to be very beneficial for the residents and the
Absolutely.
viewers. I would say the one thing I want to say is about going back to telemarketers versus independent contractors. One thing that you'll need to know is that telemarketers are that usually they only work for one carrier. So you're going to be limited in terms of the type of plans that are actually available to you, and making sure that you're getting the best plan available to you. You're going to be limited to that, whatever that one particular carrier has to offer. The other thing is those telemarketers are not dedicated to represent you. They're not dedicated to make sure they're meeting your personal needs. And they're kind of, and not to knock them, that's just the nature of their job. Their job is to kind of make sales. So they call out to different seniors to try to make a sale, and then they're on to the next phone call, right? So they're not dedicated. They're not making sure that they're committed to your personal needs, like having a local agent. So I would say, and there are a few other differences and drawbacks. So what I would ultimately say is encourage you to have a personal local agent that can assist you as it relates to navigating, understanding, and exploring your Medicare options. Have that personal dedicated agent. And that last point I would say is also always ask your agent which carriers they are able to share with you. Some local agents are good in that, yes, they will be dedicated, they're committed, you're gonna be more accessible to them and all of those things. But they too may only be contracted or represent one carrier, which still could be limiting for you. Like with Perfect Plan Solutions, though, contrary to that, with Perfect Plan Solutions, we are a broker. So we are contracted with 85% of the carriers in the market. Therefore, we can help you explore all the plans that are available to you and make sure. So just always ask that dedicated agent that you are working with, hey, which carriers are you able to share with me? Just to make sure you are getting it in front of all the plans that are actually available to you. So that would be my tip.
Awesome. I love it. Now, how can people get a hold of you?
Yes, great question again. So our telephone number is 470-740-6994, and you would press option 1 for Medicare. You could also email us at customer support at perfectplansolutions.com. You can also just visit our website at Medicare Advantage .perfectplansolutions.co.
Awesome. And for our viewers that may be new to us, we always put in the show notes simple links. So if you're driving, I don't want you to think that you got to write down anything. Focus on your driving. And just when you get to a place where you can just click on a link, you can get a hold of Jenessa and be able to ask her some questions. So thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
will be back probably by 4:00. So save me a seat, and I'm going to see if I can win a prize or two. I've never won bingo over here. Never.
I'm sure you'll win. I'm sure you'll win.
You know what? If you say everybody's a winner, I think I have a good chance. Awesome. Thank you, Jenessa, for being a guest
Pete.
on
Not a
Kennesaw.
problem. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.